The air is thick and warm. The sky is unfamiliar. The creatures that move through the mist belong to an age no living eye has ever seen. Tonight we spend the evening in the quiet extinction of Earth's giants. Let the ages dissolve around you. Sink gently into your pillow. The modern world can wait until morning. Let your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. This is Forgotten Habitats. Let us begin. The sun dips below the edge of the northern horizon, leaving a trail of amber and deep indigo across the sky. Here, in the late Pleistocene, the cold is a constant companion, a presence that defines every living thing. We stand upon the edge of the Mammoth steppe, a sprawling expanse of golden grasses and frozen earth that stretches toward the Arctic. The wind hums a low, lonely note through the dried stalks, carrying the scent of dry earth and old snow. A low, resonant vibration travels through the earth, felt in the marrow more than heard. It is the stride of a titan, a woolly mammoth, its tusks curving like arcs of ivory against the dimming horizon. The great beast moves with a deliberate grace, its thick, shaggy coat rippling with every measured step. The atmosphere is crisp and filled with the scent of dry moss and old snow. Above, the first stars pierce through the haze, flickering like distant fires in the cold void. There is no urgency here, only the slow, enduring pulse of a landscape that breathes in centuries rather than seconds. Beneath our feet, the permafrost holds the secrets of 10,000 winters, a layer of ice and soil that never truly thaws. The grass is brittle, silvered by a fine layer of frost that crunches softly under the weight of the giants. A herd of steppe bison moves in the distance, their massive shoulders humped against the chill, their breath rising in white plumes. They are the architects of this terrain, their constant grazing maintaining the open plains that support so much life. Each movement is slow, a conservation of energy in a place where warmth is the most precious of resources. To the west, a cave lion watches from the cover of a rocky outcrop, its tawny fur blending with the dead vegetation. It does not move, its golden eyes fixed on the bison, waiting for a moment of weakness that may never come. The predator is as much a part of this cycle as the prey, a shadow in the twilight of an era. The silence of the hunt is absolute, broken only by the occasional snap of a frozen twig or the distant call of a scavenger. In this stillness, the majesty of the Pleistocene reveals itself, a world of grand scale and quiet persistence. Near a frozen stream, a megaloceros pauses, its immense antlers spanning 12 feet from tip to tip. It lowers its head to nudge the ice, looking for a place where the liquid remains accessible beneath the crust. The giant deer is a masterpiece of evolution, a creature of elegance and strength that haunts the edges of the forest. Its ears twitch, catching the murmur of the wind as it weaves through the dwarf birch and willow shrubs. The landscape is a mosaic of life, each species finding its niche in the demanding environment of the Ice Age. A woolly rhinoceros emerges from the mist, its 2 horns cutting a path through the low-hanging clouds. It is a solitary creature, built for endurance, its skin thick and protected by a dense layer of woolly hair. It grazes on the tough grasses, its head low to the ground, oblivious to the beauty of the aurora that begins to dance above. The lights are green and violet, shimmering curtains of energy that illuminate the tundra in a ghostly glow. This celestial display is a reminder of the vastness of the cosmos, a silent observer of the life that stirs below. The permafrost is patterned with strange polygons, formed by the freezing and thawing of the soil over thousands of years. These ice wedges create a unique geometry on the face of the Earth, a natural map of the climate's history. We follow the curve of a riverbed where the ice has frozen clear, revealing the smooth stones trapped in its embrace. The flow has ceased for the season, locked away until the brief warmth of the summer returns to release it. In this frozen state, the landscape feels timeless, a snapshot of a primordial world at rest. High above, A scimitar-toothed cat rests upon a ledge, its powerful limbs tucked beneath its body for warmth. It looks out over the valley, a silent sentinel of the night, watching the slow migration of the herds. The cat's breath is a faint mist, disappearing into the cold atmosphere as soon as it is exhaled. There is a profound peace in its gaze, the quiet confidence of a master of its domain. The stars are its only company, their light reflected in the ice that clings to the rocks. A group of saiga antelope darts across the plain, their strange bulbous noses filtering the dusty atmosphere as they run. They move like shadows, their light frames making little noise as they navigate the uneven ground. They are survivors, adapted to the extremes of the steppe, their speed a defense against the terrors of the night. Their passage is brief, a flicker of movement in an otherwise still landscape. When they are gone, the silence returns, deeper and more profound than before. We find a sheltered hollow where a mammoth calf huddles against its mother, protected from the biting wind by her massive body. The mother's trunk gently strokes the calf's back, a gesture of tenderness in a harsh and unforgiving place. The bond between them is the foundation of the herd, a connection that ensures the survival of the next generation. The heat from their bodies creates a small pocket of warmth, a sanctuary in the middle of the freezing tundra. Here the cycle of life continues, undeterred by the encroaching ice. The wind picks up, blowing fine grains of snow across the ridges, creating ripples that look like the waves of a white ocean. The landscape is shifting, the contours of the earth redrawn by the hand of the storm. We retreat toward a line of dwarf trees, their branches bowed under the weight of the frost. These hardy plants are the only wood to be found for miles, their growth stunted by the short growing seasons. They stand like skeletal figures against the indigo sky, enduring the long night with a quiet resilience. In the distance, a cave bear stirs within its den, its heart beats slow and steady as it waits out the winter. It is a creature of the deep shadow, a dweller in the earth, who emerges only when the sun regains its strength. For now, it is a part of the stillness, its presence felt in the weight of the mountain. The era of the giants is one of slow transitions, where the change of seasons is a grand drama played out over months. Every creature is tuned to this cadence, their lives governed by the tilt of the planet. The moon rises full and bright, casting a silver light over the expanse that turns the snow into a field of diamonds. The shadows are long and sharp, stretching across the tundra like the fingers of a giant. We can see the silhouettes of a horse herd moving along the horizon, their manes flowing in the cold breeze. They are wild and free, the ancestors of a lineage that will one day traverse the entire globe. For now they are simply part of the Beringian tapestry, a thread of life in the frozen north. We pause to look at a single dried leaf, trapped in a crystal of frost, its veins still visible beneath the ice. It is a small detail, but it speaks of the persistence of life in even the most extreme conditions. The leaf was once green and full of sap, a product of the summer sun, and now it is a jewel of the winter. This transformation is the essence of the Pleistocene, a world where everything is shaped by the touch of the cold. The atmosphere is silent now, the wind having died down to a mere whisper. The landscape is settling into the deep quiet of midnight, a time when the giants rest and the earth breathes in slow, shallow gasps. We have traveled far through this vanished world, witnessing the beauty and the struggle of a time long past. The memory of the mammoths and the lions will endure, etched into the very soil we walk upon. As we look out over the sleeping steppe, we feel a sense of belonging to this primordial place. The journey through the late Pleistocene is a journey into the heart of our own history. The stars are our guides as we move toward the edge of this segment, our path illuminated by the celestial fire of the cosmos. The giants are still there, moving in the shadows, their presence a reminder of the scale of the world. We leave them to their rest, moving quietly so as not to disturb the peace of the night. The transition from one age to another is a slow and silent process, a quiet extinction that happens one heartbeat at a time. The cold persists, but so does the life that has learned to call it home. As the first hint of a new light touches the far eastern peaks, we prepare to move into the next chapter of this journey. The landscape remains unchanged, a boundless sea of grass and ice waiting for the return of the sun. Our footsteps leave no trace on the frozen ground, a sign of our role as silent observers of the past. The cycle of the day is about to begin again, bringing new challenges and new beauties to the Mammoth steppe. We carry the stillness of the night with us as we drift toward the coming dawn. The morning light, soft and hesitant, filters through the dense needles of the spruce trees. We leave the frozen tundra of the north behind, moving south where the ice makes its slow, centuries-long retreat. Here the landscape is a mosaic of emerald moss and silver-barked wood. The atmosphere is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and crushed pine needles. In the center of this clearing, a giant moves with deliberate grace. The American mastodon, a creature of the deep forest, reaches upward with a trunk as flexible as a vine. It does not seek the grasses of the steppe, but the tender tips of the evergreen boughs. Its tusks, long and subtly curved, gleam in the filtered sun like polished bone. The mastodon is a solitary wanderer, a ghost of the woodland. Its coat is a rich chocolate brown, thick enough to ward off the remaining chill of the fading ice age. We watch as it strips a branch, the crunch of wood a low note in the morning stillness. There is no haste in its movement, only the steady, measured pace of a life lived in harmony with the seasons. Nearby, the ground is soft, holding the deep impressions of feet that have walked these paths for 10,000 years. The river, a clear thread of glacial melt, flows over smooth stones, singing a quiet song to the ferns. We follow the flow, moving deeper into the heart of the continent, where the giants still rule the shadows. A giant ground sloth, the size of a modern ox, sits back on its haunches. It uses its massive, curved claws to pull a high branch within reach of its tongue. This is a creature of the edges, living where the forest meets the open glade. Its fur is shaggy and matted, colored like the autumn leaves that carpet the floor. The sloth moves with a slow, swaying motion, its weight shifting from side to side. It is a peaceful titan, unbothered by the smaller creatures that scurry beneath its feet. The atmosphere around it is calm, a pocket of stillness in a changing era. We observe the steady blink of its eyes, reflecting the green canopy above. Further down the valley, where the trees thin and the grass grows tall, a pack of dire wolves rests. They are larger than any wolf of our time, with shoulders broad and jaws built for the hunt. Yet in this moment they are at peace, huddling together for warmth against the morning dew. Their breathing is a collective pulse, a sign of the strength found in the pack. The wolves do not stir as we pass, their ears merely twitching at the murmur of the breeze. They are the apex of this realm, the keepers of the balance. The golden light of the rising sun catches the grey and silver of their fur, turning them into statues of the morning. On a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley, a short-faced bear stands tall. It is a towering presence, its long legs designed for covering immense distances across the plains. Its nose twitches, catching the scent of the mastodon and the sloth from miles away. It is a sentinel of the Pleistocene, a guardian of the high places. The bear is a traveler, moving between the mountain peaks and the river basins. Its strength is legendary, its endurance unmatched in this primordial landscape. We see the power in its muscles as it turns away, disappearing into the shadows of a limestone cave. The silence it leaves behind is weighted, a reminder of the scale of the life that thrives here. As the sun climbs higher, the mist begins to lift from the valley floor. We find ourselves at the edge of a great lake, its face as smooth as a mirror. The water is a deep, cold blue, reflecting the white peaks of the distant glaciers. This is the lifeblood of the land, the source of all that grows and breathes. A group of camels, long-legged and elegant, approaches the shore to drink. They are not creatures of the desert, but of the cool, temperate plains. Their coats are tawny and thick, and they move with a delicate gait that belies their size. They dip their heads to the flow, the ripples spreading out in perfect circles. The camels are a reminder of the diversity of this era, a time when the familiar and the strange lived side by side. They share the landscape with the bison and the horse, each finding their place in the intricate web of life. The cycle of the day continues, a steady progression from light to shadow and back again. In the high branches of a dead cedar, a teratorn perches. It is a bird of immense proportions, its wingspan wide enough to shadow a small grove. It watches the valley with keen golden eyes, waiting for the thermals to rise. When it finally takes flight, it does so with a single powerful push, gliding effortlessly on the breath of the mountains. The bird is a master of the sky, a silent observer of the world below. It sees the migration of the herds and the slow retreat of the ice. Its shadow passes over the forest, a fleeting mark on the green expanse. We watch until it is a mere speck against the blue, a part of the measureless heavens. The afternoon brings a shift in the light, the colors of the landscape deepening into gold and amber. We come upon a hidden marsh where the giant beaver has built its home. The dam is a masterpiece of engineering, a mound of logs and mud that has turned the stream into a series of quiet ponds. The water is still here, save for the occasional bubble rising from the depths. The giant beaver emerges from the reeds, its fur sleek and wet. It is as large as a man, a formidable architect of the wetlands. It moves through the shallows with ease, its broad tail acting as a rudder. The work of this creature shapes the landscape, creating habitats for countless other species. The marsh is a place of abundance, a sanctuary for the small and the large alike. We hear the call of a crane in the distance, a lonely note that echoes through the trees. The atmosphere is humid and rich, the scent of peat and lily pads hanging in the cool shade. In a clearing of tall grass, a herd of long-horned bison grazes. Their horns are vast, stretching over 2 meters from tip to tip. They move like a slow, brown tide across the meadow, their heads low to the ground. The sound of their grazing is a rhythmic tearing of grass, a peaceful melody of the afternoon. These bison are the giants of the plains, survivors of a world that is slowly warming. They follow the seasonal growth of the forage, moving across the continent in great sweeping arcs. We watch as a calf gambols near its mother, its movements full of the energy of youth. The continuity of life is visible in every step they take. Near the edge of a cypress swamp, a stag moose stands ankle-deep in the water. Its antlers are complex and palmate, unlike any seen in the modern era. It filters the aquatic plants with its sensitive muzzle, its ears rotating toward the sound of a distant splash. It is a creature of the transition, comfortable in both the wood and the marsh. The stag moose is a silent dweller of the shadows, its dark coat blending with the murky depths. It moves with a high-stepping gait, avoiding the tangled roots of the cypress trees. We leave it to its quiet meal, moving toward the cooling air of the evening. The landscape is changing, and we must follow the path of the setting sun. As evening approaches, the shadows lengthen once more, stretching across the valley like the hands of time. The short-faced bear returns to the heights, its silhouette sharp against the purple sky. The mastodon moves deeper into the spruce, its day of foraging coming to a close. The landscape is a tapestry of life and change, a place where the giants still walk, but the world is shifting beneath their feet. The warmth of the sun persists on the rocks, a final gift before the return of the stars. We stand at the threshold of the night, watching as the first glimmer of the moon appears over the ridge. The transition is subtle, a quiet movement from the activity of the day to the rest of the night. The giants are still here, their presence a constant in a realm of flux. We carry the memory of their strength and their grace as we move forward. The journey through the late Pleistocene continues, a path marked by the footsteps of the Titans. The light fades, leaving only the silver glow of the moon to guide our way. The forest is a place of mystery now, a realm of shadow and whisper. We move softly, becoming one with the stillness of the woods. The story of the giants is far from over, and each step takes us deeper into their long-vanished home. The stars emerge, one by one, a celestial map of the ages. We look up at the same constellations that the mammoths and the mastodons saw, a bridge across the millennia. The atmosphere is cold again, but it is a familiar cold, a reminder of the era we inhabit. We prepare for the next stage of our exploration, moving with the steady pace of the earth itself. The giants are sleeping now, their breath a slow and steady rhythm in the dark. We leave them to their dreams, moving toward the far horizon where the next chapter awaits. The quiet extinction is a process of beauty and loss, a transformation that we are privileged to witness. As the night deepens, we find ourselves at the edge of a new landscape, ready to see what the dawn will bring. Beyond the shelter of the spruce, the expanse of the Mammoth steppe opens before us, a kingdom of silver and frost under the unwavering gaze of the moon. The wind here is a constant companion, carrying the scent of dry sage, crushed mineral dust, and the faint, musky odor of the great herds. It is a dry cold, one that preserves the memory of the summer even as the winter tightens its grip on the permafrost. We walk upon the loess, a fine-grained silt deposited by the winds of 10,000 years, forming a soft carpet beneath our feet. The grasses here are short and hardy, frozen into stiff needles that chime against one another in the breeze. Among the golden stalks, the dwarf willow and birch cling to the earth, their stunted forms a testament to the relentless pressure of the ice. In the distance, a group of woolly mammoths stands like boulders against the horizon, their massive bodies huddled together to conserve the heat of their lifeblood. Their long, coarse hair flows in the wind, a protective mantle of mahogany and ochre that shields them from the bite of the Arctic chill. They are the sovereigns of this frozen domain, their presence a grounding force in the shifting landscape of the glacial age. A matriarch stirs, her great tusks curving upward like the ribs of a long-forgotten ship, glinting with the frost of the deep night. She lets out a low, vibrating hum, a frequency that travels through the earth rather than the atmosphere, signaling to her kin that all is well. The calves are tucked safely between the pillars of their mother's legs, their smaller forms nearly hidden by the shaggy curtains of fur. The silence of the steppe is profound, broken only by the occasional crack of ice or the distant howl of a wolf. We move past the huddle, our footsteps leaving temporary impressions in the dust that the wind will soon erase. The moon is high now, casting long, stark shadows that dance across the undulating hills of the lowest plains. To our left, a herd of steppe bison moves with a slow, deliberate pace, their massive shoulders rising and falling like the swell of a dark sea. Their horns are wide and formidable, catching the moonlight as they tilt their heads to graze on the exposed patches of dry vegetation. They are creatures of endurance, built to weather the storms that sweep down from the northern ice sheets. The bison do not acknowledge our presence, focused instead on the vital task of finding sustenance in the lean months of the year. Their breath forms white plumes that drift away on the wind, ephemeral ghosts in the starlight. This is the pulse of the Pleistocene, a cycle of survival that has endured for hundreds of generations, etched into the very soil of the continent. On a rocky outcrop of limestone, a cave lion watches the herd with eyes that reflect the pale glow of the sky. It does not hunt tonight, its belly full from a previous kill, but its presence is a reminder of the delicate balance between predator and prey. The lion is larger than any of its modern cousins, its coat a pale, sandy color that blends perfectly with the winter grass. The predator's tail twitches once, a small movement in the stillness before it rests its head upon its paws and closes its eyes. There is a strange peace here, a truce dictated by the severity of the environment and the need for rest. Even the fiercest of hunters must bow to the requirements of the cold, seeking refuge in the quiet corners of the terrain. We descend into a shallow valley where a river once flowed, its course now locked in a grip of solid ice. The channel is a ribbon of glass, reflecting the constellations above with startling clarity, a celestial map mirrored on the skin of the earth. Beneath the frozen crust, the life of the stream persists in a state of suspended animation, waiting for the far-off promise of the spring thaw. A woolly rhinoceros stands near the bank, its two horns tilted toward the ground as it scrapes away the snow to reach the lichen beneath. It is a solitary figure, its thick skin and dense woolly coat making it look like a creature carved from the stone itself. The rhino moves with a surprising grace, its weight distributed across its sturdy limbs as it navigates the uneven ground of the riverbank. The atmosphere is crisp and clean, devoid of the humidity of the southern forests we left behind. Each breath is a sharp reminder of the power of the ice, a force that reshapes the continents and dictates the boundaries of life. Yet in this harshness there is a profound beauty, a clarity of form and purpose that is unique to the Mammoth steppe. High above, the Aurora borealis begins to dance across the heavens, curtains of emerald and violet light shimmering in the solar wind. The colors ripple and fold, casting a surreal glow over the landscape and illuminating the frost-covered hills in shades of neon and shadow. It is a silent spectacle, a visual music that plays for no one but the giants and the stars. The mammoths look up, their small eyes reflecting the celestial fire, perhaps sensing the energy that pulses through the upper reaches of the atmosphere. For a moment the entire world seems to hold its breath, caught in the intersection of the earthly and the divine. The light of the aurora is a bridge between the ages, a constant that has watched over the earth since its inception. We move toward the edge of a great loess cliff, looking out over a sea of clouds that has gathered in the lowlands below. The clouds are a soft white blanket, concealing the secrets of the valleys and creating an island of peaks in the moonlight. The sense of isolation is immense, a feeling of being at the very edge of the known world, where the rules of time are different. In the shadow of a dwarf pine, a group of saiga antelope huddle together, their strange bulbous noses twitching as they filter the cold air. These noses are a marvel of evolution, warming the frigid breath before it reaches their lungs and filtering out the dust of the steppe. They are the survivors of the plains, their delicate legs capable of carrying them across the expanse at great speeds. The saiga are restless, their ears pivoting toward the sound of a distant rockfall, their bodies tensed for flight. But the danger does not come, and they slowly return to their state of watchful repose, their heads resting on each other's flanks. They are a community of the cold, bound together by the necessity of the herd and the shared experience of the winter. As we continue our journey, the terrain becomes more rugged, with jagged peaks of granite rising up to meet the sky. These are the Altai Mountains, a fortress of rock and ice that stands as a barrier between the steppe and the southern lands. The slopes are home to the snow leopard, a ghost of the heights that moves with silent paws across the treacherous scree. The leopard is a master of camouflage, its spotted coat disappearing into the pattern of lichen and stone that covers the mountainside. It watches us from a high ledge, its gaze neutral and detached, a sentinel of the high places. We offer no threat, and it allows us to pass, its attention returning to the movement of a mountain goat on a distant ridge. The night is at its deepest point now, the hour when the earth is most still and the stars are at their brightest. We find a sheltered hollow beneath an overhanging rock, a place where the wind cannot reach and the warmth of the earth persists. It is a place to pause, to reflect on the journey and the magnificent creatures that call this era home. The giants are still there, out on the plains, their silhouettes a testament to the endurance of life. The mammoth, the rhino, the bison, they are all part of a grand design, a tapestry of existence that is both fragile and resilient. We are merely observers, guests in a realm that belongs to the titans of the ice. As the first hint of light begins to touch the eastern horizon, the stars begin to fade, their brilliance softened by the approach of the dawn. The blue of the night turns to a pale grey, then to a soft lavender as the sun prepares to rise over the edge of the world. The transition is slow and graceful, a change of guard between the moon and the sun. The mammoths begin to move, their massive forms stirring as the new day approaches, their tusks catching the first rays of the morning light. They will continue their endless search for food, their journey across the steppe, a pattern of movement that has defined their species for millennia. We watch them for a final moment before turning our gaze toward the rising sun. The landscape is waking up, the silence of the night giving way to the soft murmurs of the morning. The wind remains, but it feels different now, carrying the promise of a new day and the continued story of the giants. We move forward, our path leading us toward the light, ready to discover what the next chapter of the Pleistocene has in store for us. The horizon is a line of fire, a golden border that separates the earth from the sky, a beacon that guides us onward. The journey through the quiet extinction is a path of discovery, a chance to witness the world as it once was, in all its raw and untamed beauty. We step into the light of the new day, the memory of the night still fresh in our minds, as the story of the earth continues to unfold. The golden light of the morning stretches across the frost-covered valley, illuminating the breath of a lone mastodon as it rises in pale plumes. This creature, a dweller of the deep woodlands, moves with a deliberate grace through the stands of spruce and hemlock that define this region. Its tusks, curved and formidable, brush against the low-hanging branches, releasing a shower of crystalline snow that glitters in the low sun like 1,000 tiny diamonds. We follow its path with a sense of quiet wonder, our footsteps silent on the carpet of needles and moss, feeling the coolness of the morning on our faces as the landscape wakes. The atmosphere is crisp and sharp, carrying the scent of resin and damp earth that has been frozen through the night. In this pocket of the late Pleistocene, the giants are not merely figures of strength, but integral parts of the forest architecture. The mastodon pauses to strip a branch of its needles, the crunching of the wood a slow, steady pulse in the stillness. It is a moment of profound peace, where the passage of time is measured only by the lengthening of shadows and the slow movement of the clouds across the pale blue firmament. Further along the edge of the woodland, where the trees give way to a sprawling meadow, a giant ground sloth reaches toward the high canopy. Its massive claws, usually intended for digging, are hooked around a thick branch, pulling it down with effortless power. The sloth moves with a languid, unhurried tempo, its thick fur matted with twigs and dried leaves from its journey through the brush. It is a relic of a different age, a gentle titan that finds its sustenance in the quiet corners of the landscape, undisturbed by the world beyond. The meadow is a sea of amber grasses, waving gently in the breeze that rolls down from the distant peaks. Here the short-faced bear wanders, its long limbs carrying it across the terrain with surprising speed and efficiency. It is not hunting today, but simply moving, its keen nose testing the atmosphere for the scent of carrion or ripening berries hidden in the thickets. The bear is the undisputed master of this expanse, a predator that commands respect from every creature it encounters. Yet it moves with a calm that belies its strength. As we move deeper into the heart of the continent, the forest thins out, replaced by the open plains where the camelops roam. These tall, slender creatures are the ancestors of the modern camel, but they are larger, more robust, and perfectly adapted to the seasonal shifts of the North American interior. They move in small groups, their long necks swaying in a measured cadence as they graze on the tough shrubs and grasses that grow in the sandy soil. Their presence is a reminder of the diversity of life that once thrived in these open spaces. The murmur of the wind is the only companion for the dire wolves as they shadow the camelops from a distance. These wolves are built for endurance. Their thick necks and powerful jaws a testament to their role as the primary hunters of the giants. They do not rush, but wait for the opportune moment, their amber eyes fixed on the movement of the herd with a focused intensity. There is a sense of patient inevitability in their presence, a reminder of the delicate balance between the hunter and the prey in this primordial realm. In the dappled light of a nearby thicket, a saber-toothed cat lies in wait, its tawny coat blending perfectly with the dried leaves and shadows. The long, curved canines that give the cat its name are hidden for now, but its intent is clear in the tension of its muscles and the stillness of its pose. It is a creature of ambush, a silent shadow that strikes with sudden and overwhelming force when the time is right. We pass by unnoticed, the cat's focus remaining entirely on the path where a young bison might soon wander. High above the plains, the teratorn bird catches a thermal, its enormous wingspan stretching nearly 20 feet across. It circles with effortless grace, its keen eyes scanning the landscape for any sign of movement or the remains of a recent hunt. The bird is a titan of the skies, a scavenger that plays a vital role in the ecosystem by cleaning the remains of the giants that have fallen. Its shadow glides over the earth like a passing cloud, a silent observer of the life that teems below in the golden light. Near the banks of a slow-moving stream, a glyptodon rests in the sun, its domed shell resembling a large moss-covered boulder. This armored giant is a relative of the armadillo, but on a scale that defies modern comparison, reaching the size of a small car. It is slow and methodical, its tail armed with a bony club that serves as a deterrent to any predator bold enough to approach its fortress. The glyptodon is a marvel of evolutionary defense, a testament to the diverse forms that life has taken in this era. The stream leads us to a natural salt lick, where a herd of Columbian mammoths has gathered to replenish their minerals. These giants are larger than their woolly cousins, their skin less hairy, and their tusks even more spectacular in their sweeping curves. They use their trunks to scrape the mineral-rich earth, the low-frequency rumbles of their communication vibrating through the ground beneath our feet. It is a social gathering, a time for the herd to bond and find the nutrients they need to sustain their massive bodies through the seasons. Across the tundra, a group of wild horses gallops with a freedom that is breathtaking to behold against the backdrop of the mountains. Their manes fly in the wind, their hooves striking the earth with a tempo that echoes the heartbeat of the land itself. These horses are the original inhabitants of the Americas, a lineage that has thrived in the open spaces for millions of years before their later disappearance. They are swift and elusive, a flash of brown and white against the green and gold of the plains. As the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, we encounter a group of muskoxen huddling together against the rising chill. Their long, shaggy coats reach nearly to the ground, providing insulation against the freezing temperatures that will soon grip the landscape. They stand in a circle, their horns facing outward, a defensive formation that has protected them from predators since the beginning of the Ice Ages. They are symbols of resilience, survivors in a world that is constantly changing under the influence of the ice. In a quiet valley where the rivers slow and pool, we find the work of the giant beaver, a creature of immense industry. The dam it has constructed is massive, a feat of engineering that has transformed the valley into a series of interconnected ponds and wetlands. The beaver itself is the size of a black bear, its large incisors capable of felling trees that would challenge a modern lumberjack. It moves through the flow with surprising agility, its flat tail acting as a powerful rudder as it patrols its territory. The brush nearby is home to a group of flat-headed peccaries, their small, sturdy bodies moving through the undergrowth with ease and purpose. They are social creatures, communicating with a series of grunts and clicks as they forage for roots and tubers hidden beneath the soil. They are often overlooked in the presence of the giants, but they are an essential part of the food web, providing a stable source of prey for the predators that roam the landscape. Their movements are quick and nervous, always alert to the dangers that lurk in the shadows. The horizon is dominated by the sight of the retreating ice wall, a massive glacier that has shaped the terrain for tens of thousands of years. The ice is a deep, translucent blue, its face scarred by the movement of the earth and the melting of the seasons. Large chunks of ice break off and fall into the meltwater lakes at its base, the noise of their impact echoing like thunder across the valley. It is a reminder of the immense power of the climate and the forces that are currently reshaping this world. On a cliff face overlooking the valley, we find the first signs of a new presence in this landscape that will change everything. A series of pictographs, painted in red ochre, depict the very giants we have been observing with such reverence. There are mammoths, bison, and deer, their forms captured with a simple yet profound artistry that speaks of a deep connection to the land. It is a mark of the human spirit, a sign that we are no longer alone in this primordial world. The humans are coming, and with them a change that will reshape the landscape forever. The twilight begins to deepen, the sky turning a rich indigo as the first stars appear in the cooling atmosphere. The transition is slow and peaceful, the landscape settling into the quietude of the night as the day dwellers seek shelter. The giants are still there, their silhouettes visible against the fading light, but they seem more distant now, as if they are already fading into the mists of history. We feel a sense of reverence for these creatures, a recognition of the magnificent era that is slowly drawing to a close. The night is not a place of fear, but of reflection on the wonders we have witnessed throughout this long day. We find a high vantage point where we can look out over the expanse of the plains, the moonlight silvering the grasses and the distant peaks. The atmosphere is still, the only murmur being the distant call of an owl or the rustle of a small mammal in the brush nearby. It is a time to contemplate the journey we have taken and the stories that have been written in the earth. The stars are brilliant in the clear atmosphere, their light reaching across the eons to touch this vanished world with a cold glow. We see the constellations that have guided travelers for millennia. Their patterns are constant in a world of change and transition. The mammoths are resting now, their massive forms blending into the shadows of the valley, their presence a comforting weight in the darkness. We are part of this landscape, if only for a moment, a witness to the beauty and the tragedy of the giants. As the moon reaches its zenith, we prepare to move forward into the next stage of our journey through this age. The story of the giants is not yet over, but the path ahead is uncertain, shaped by the shifting climate and the arrival of new forces. We carry the memories of this night with us, the sight of the mammoths in the moonlight and the sound of the wind across the steppe. The journey continues, leading us toward the dawn of a new era and the final chapters of the quiet extinction that awaits. The stars watch over us as we descend from the heights, following the trail of the Titans into the heart of the night. We descend into the valley where the frost is a silver lace upon the earth, and the silence is as deep as the ice. The path follows the curve of a frozen stream, its flow stilled by the relentless cold of the late Pleistocene winter. Every step is a slow measure of time, a movement through a landscape that has forgotten the warmth of the sun. The atmosphere is sharp, carrying the scent of pine and the faint metallic tang of the coming snow. Ahead, a woolly rhinoceros emerges from the haze, its shaggy coat a compact shield against the biting wind. It moves with a weighted grace, its great horns sweeping the snow aside to find the dry, yellowed grass beneath. The creature is a mountain of fur and muscle, a survivor of 1,000 winters, standing firm in the half-light. We watch as it breathes, the white plumes of its breath rising like smoke into the still, cold atmosphere. The silence of the tundra is not empty, but filled with the faint murmur of the wind against the rocks. We feel the pulse of the earth beneath us, a slow, steady beat that has endured for eons. In this era, the giants are the masters of the terrain, their presence a grounding force in a shifting climate. The stars above are bright and cold, their light reflecting off the ice in 1,000 shimmering points. Further along the valley, a giant elk stands among a grove of birch, its antlers reaching like the branches of a tree. The palms of its antlers are broad and substantial, a magnificent display of strength and endurance in the dimness. It lifts its head, the large dark eyes catching the starlight, sensing our presence with a quiet curiosity. The elk is a ghost of the forest, a creature of beauty and power that moves with a silent, effortless stride. We move away from the frozen river, climbing toward a ridge where the snow is deep and untouched. The landscape opens up before us, a limitless expanse of white that stretches toward the distant, jagged peaks. The cold is more intense here, a biting force that demands respect and a slow, careful pace. We find shelter in the lee of a large boulder where the wind cannot reach us, and the stillness is absolute. From this vantage point, we see a cave lion prowling the edge of a ravine, its coat a tawny shadow against the snow. It is a lean, powerful predator, its movements a study in controlled energy and silent intent. The lion does not roar, for the night is a time for stealth, its call replaced by the soft crunch of paws on frozen crust. It is a reminder of the balance of this place, where every creature has its role in the cycle of life. The journey takes us across the oceans of time, shifting our gaze to the southern reaches of the Americas. Here, the climate is milder, the atmosphere laden with the scent of damp earth and tropical blooms. The giants of this region are different, but no less impressive, their forms adapted to a reach of forest and plain. We find ourselves in a lush basin, where the trees are tall and the foliage is a vibrant, deep green. A giant ground sloth, as large as an elephant, reaches for the high branches of a flowering tree. Its claws are long and curved, designed for stripping leaves and bark with a slow, deliberate motion. The sloth is a peaceful giant, its movements unhurried as it feeds in the warm, humid atmosphere of the night. We can hear the rustle of the leaves and the occasional snap of a branch as it moves through the canopy. Nearby, a glyptodon rests near the shore of a slow-moving river, its domed shell a fortress of bone. The shell is a marvel of nature, a complex mosaic of plates that protects the creature from any threat. It looks like a living stone, a silent sentinel in the half-light, its tail a spiked club that rests in the mud. The flow of the river is a gentle hiss, a constant presence that speaks of the enduring nature of the landscape. In the tall grass of the pampas, a saber-toothed cat waits, its long fangs a pale gleam in the shadow. It is a creature of formidable power, its shoulders solid with muscle, its gaze fixed on a distant herd. The cat is a master of the hunt, a predator that has shaped the evolution of the giants it stalks. We feel the tension in the atmosphere, the quiet anticipation of a movement that will change the course of the night. Our journey continues across the extensive plains to the archaic heart of the Australian continent. The atmosphere is dry and warm, the scent of eucalyptus and red dust hanging in the still evening. Here the giants are unique, survivors of a land that has been isolated for millions of years. The moonlight silvered the bark of the ghost gums, creating a landscape of pale light and deep shadow. A diprotodon, the largest marsupial to ever walk the earth, moves toward a billabong to drink. It is a sturdy, low-slung creature, its walk a slow, rolling motion that speaks of its immense weight. The billabong is a mirror of the stars, its skin of the pool undisturbed until the giant lowers its head. The noise of its drinking is a soft, measured lapping, a peaceful note in the quietude of the outback. In the shadows of the scrub, a megalania watches, its flickering tongue tasting the atmosphere for the scent of prey. The giant monitor lizard is a relic of an older age, its scales a dark, pebbled armor that blends with the earth. It moves with a low, slithering grace, a silent predator that haunts the dreams of the smaller creatures. The night is its domain, a place where its cold-blooded patience is rewarded by the cooling of the land. We turn our attention back to the north. to the spruce forests of the American continent. The atmosphere is thick with the resinous scent of the needles and the dampness of the forest floor. A mastodon moves through the trees, its tusks long and curved, its coat a stout brown. It is a creature of the woodlands, its presence a grounding force in the tangled undergrowth. The mastodon stops to strip the bark from a fallen log, the noise of the wood splintering a sharp crack in the silence. It is a solitary giant, a wanderer of the deep woods that has seen the changing of the seasons for many years. We watch as it moves deeper into the forest, its form disappearing into the shadow of the tall, dark trees. The forest is a place of secrets, where the giants of the past still walk in the quiet hours of the night. Near a large lake, a giant beaver works on its dam. The branches it carries are testament to its industry. The beaver is the size of a bear, its teeth powerful tools that can fell a tree with a few bites. The splash of its tail on the face of it is a sharp, echoing note that carries across the calm liquid. We see the ripples spread, a series of expanding circles that catch the light of the moon. The stars are a constant companion, their light a bridge between the past and the present. We look up at the sky, seeing the same constellations that the giants have gazed upon for eons. The atmosphere is clear and cold, a window into the boundless reaches of the universe that surround this era. It is a time for reflection, for acknowledging the beauty and the fragility of the landscape we are witnessing. On the Bering Land Bridge, the wind is a constant presence, a cold force that shapes the terrain. We see a herd of steppe bison moving across the tundra, their heads lowered against the biting chill. They are a sea of fur and horn, a collective force that moves with a single, unified purpose. The noise of their hooves on the frozen ground is a low, steady thrum, a pulse of life in the wilderness. The ice is never far away, a constant reminder of the forces that are reshaping the landscape. We see the edge of a glacier, a wall of blue and white that towers over the valley like a frozen wave. The glacier is a slow, relentless force, a river of ice that carves the terrain with an irresistible power. We feel the chill that emanates from it, a cold that reaches deep into the heart of the night. As the moon moves into its descent, we find ourselves in a deep canyon where the walls are high and the shadows are long. The atmosphere is still and quiet, a place of sanctuary from the wind and the cold of the open plains. We rest here for a moment, listening to the murmur of a hidden spring as it flows over the rocks. The journey has been long, but there is still much to see in this land of giants and ice. The stories of this era are written in the earth, in the bones and the tracks that remain long after the creatures are gone. We are the witnesses to these stories, the ones who carry the memory of the giants into the future. The night is a time for honoring these memories, for recognizing the magnificence of the life that has graced this region. We feel a sense of peace, a connection to the cycles of the earth that have endured for millions of years. The light of the stars is fading as the first hint of dawn stirs into the eastern horizon. The transition is slow and gentle, a soft shift from the dimness of the night to the pale light of the morning. We prepare to move forward, to see what the new day will bring to this landscape of giants. The path ahead is clear, leading us toward the final chapters of this journey as the stars begin to dim. The pale light of the early morning stretches across the frozen expanse of the Yukon, touching the tips of the frost-laden shrubs with a cold silver fire. We move deeper into the interior of this northern corridor, where the wind has carved the snow into ripples that mirror the frozen waves of the great ice sheets to the east. The atmosphere is sharp and crisp, carrying the scent of dry grass and the faint mineral tang of the permafrost. Every breath is a visible cloud, a brief ghost that vanishes into the stillness of the tundra. Beneath the sheltering lee of a limestone ridge, a solitary woolly mammoth stands motionless, its long, shaggy coat dusted with crystals of ice. The creature is a mountain of fur and muscle, a remnant of an age that is slowly yielding to the changing seasons of the earth. We watch as it exhales, a deep, resonant sigh that seems to vibrate through the very ground beneath our feet. Its tusks, curved and immense, catch the first direct rays of the sun, gleaming like polished ivory against the muted browns of the winter landscape. As we follow the winding path of a frozen stream, the landscape opens into a sprawling valley, where the meltwater has carved deep channels into the earth. The liquid is trapped beneath a thick skin of ice, but we can hear the faint murmur of its movement, a secret pulse beneath the surface of the terrain. The ground here is a mosaic of mosses and hardy grasses, a resilient carpet that sustains the giants of this era through the lean months of the year. The silence of the valley is absolute, broken only by the occasional crack of the ice as it shifts under the weight of the cold. High above, on the rocky outcrops of the Bluefish Caves, a short-faced bear stirs from its rest, its massive form silhouetted against the brightening sky. This predator is a shadow of the mountain, a silent observer of the plains below, waiting for the landscape to awaken. Its eyes are keen, scanning the horizon for any sign of movement, any hint of the herds that migrate across the steppe. The bear moves with a slow, deliberate grace, its claws clicking softly against the stone as it repositioned itself in the half-light. Further south, the steppe gives way to a sea of sagebrush and stunted conifers, where the atmosphere is slightly warmer, but no less quiet. Here, a small group of camelops moves through the haze, their long necks swaying in a gentle measure as they browse on the bitter leaves. They are elegant survivors, their padded feet making no noise on the sandy soil as they navigate the labyrinth of shrubs. The light here is a soft amber, filtered through the morning mist that clings to the floor of the basin. We find ourselves at the edge of a great glacial lake, where the icebergs float like white monuments in the still, dark liquid. The scale of the ice is difficult to comprehend, a wall of frozen history that towers hundreds of feet into the atmosphere. We see the deep blues and greens trapped within the bergs, colors that have not seen the sun for tens of thousands of years. The chill emanating from the lake is a physical presence, a cold that demands respect and stillness from all who pass through this region. In the shadow of the great ice, a herd of Columbia mammoths moves toward the southern plains, their larger frames and less hairy coats marking them as creatures of a different climate. They walk with a steady, rhythmic pace, their trunks occasionally reaching out to touch one another in a silent gesture of social connection. The noise of their movement is a low thrum, a vibration that carries through the soil and speaks of the immense power held within their bodies. They are the architects of this landscape, their grazing and trampling shaping the very structure of the grasslands they inhabit. As the sun climbs higher, we transition into a forest of spruce and pine, where the trees are draped in long tresses of lichen. The atmosphere here is thick with the scent of resin and damp earth, a sanctuary for the creatures that prefer the cover of the woods. We catch a glimpse of a megalonyx, a giant ground sloth, as it reaches up to pull a branch toward its mouth, with its powerful hooked claws. It moves with a slow, meditative quality, a creature that seems to exist in a different tempo than the rest of the landscape. Leaving the forest, we arrive at the edge of the asphalt seeps of the Rancho La Brea region, where the earth bleeds a thick black substance. The pools are mirrors of the sky, reflecting the drifting clouds and the occasional bird that soars overhead. This is a place of transition and memory, where the remains of countless giants are preserved within the sticky depths of the tar. The atmosphere is weighted with the smell of bitumen, a primordial scent that has persisted through the ages. Near the edge of a pool, a pair of smilodon rest in the shade of a twisted juniper tree, their long fangs visible even in repose. They are the apex of their lineage, powerful hunters that command the landscape with their presence alone. Their tawny fur blends perfectly with the dry grasses, making them almost invisible to the untrained eye. We watch the slow rise and fall of their chests, a testament to the quiet life that exists between the moments of the hunt. Across the plains, a pack of dire wolves moves with a unified purpose, their grey forms flowing through the mist like ghosts. They do not bark or howl, but communicate through subtle shifts in posture and the occasional low whine. The pack is a single organism, a collective force that navigates the complexities of the Pleistocene ecosystem with unmatched skill. The sound of their paws on the dry earth is a soft patter, a minor note in the symphony of the morning. We look up to see a teratorn soaring on the thermals, its wingspan stretching nearly 20 feet across the blue expanse. It is a master of the sky, a scavenger that watches the landscape from a perspective of immense height and clarity. The bird does not flap its wings, but glides with an effortless grace, using the currents of the atmosphere to survey the vastness of its domain. Its shadow passes over the ground like a fleeting thought, a reminder of the scale of the life that thrives here. Traveling toward the humid lowlands of the southern peninsula, the landscape transforms into a lush mosaic of swamps and palm groves. Here the Erymatherium, an even larger relative of the ground sloth, grazes on the abundant aquatic plants. Its massive tail provides a sturdy tripod as it stands on its hind legs to reach the higher fronds of the trees. The atmosphere is humid and laden with the calls of tropical birds, a stark contrast to the frozen tundra of the north. In the slow-moving currents of the river, a glyptodon rests on a muddy bank, its domed shell resembling a large moss-covered boulder. It is a fortress of a creature protected by a suit of bony armor that has evolved over millions of years. The creature is indifferent to our presence, its small head occasionally emerging from its shell to nibble on the succulent riverside vegetation. The flow of the river is a constant companion, a steady murmur that provides the soundtrack to this peaceful scene. As we move into the Appalachian foothills, the landscape becomes a series of rolling ridges covered in a dense carpet of deciduous trees. Here the American mastodon finds its home, browsing on the twigs and leaves of the forest edge. Unlike their mammoth cousins, the mastodons are shorter and more heavily built, adapted for life in the uneven terrain of the woodlands. We hear the snap of a branch in the distance, a clear, sharp report that echoes through the quiet of the morning. In a hidden peat bog, we find the remains of a long-vanished giant, partially uncovered by the shifting of the earth. The bones are a deep mahogany color, stained by the tannins of the bog, a silent record of a life that ended thousands of years ago. The atmosphere here is reflective and still, a place where the past and the present seem to merge into a single moment. We pause to honor the memory of the creature, recognizing its place in the grand cycle of the Earth's history. High in the mountain passes, a group of cave lions seeks refuge from the wind, their thick manes providing warmth against the high-altitude chill. They are larger than any modern lion, built for the rigors of the Ice Age and the challenges of the rugged terrain. They watch the valley below with a calm, stoic gaze, their presence a reminder of the diversity of life that once filled this era. The light of the sun is golden on the peaks, casting long, dramatic shadows across the snowfields. Descending back to the tundra, we see a herd of musk ox huddled together, their long, shaggy hair reaching almost to the ground. They form a defensive circle, their horns facing outward as they protect the young in the center of the group. The wind has picked up, carrying with it the fine dust of the permafrost and the scent of an approaching storm. The atmosphere is turning toward a deeper gray, a sign that the brief respite of the morning is coming to an end. We feel the ground beneath us tremble slightly as the permafrost cracks, a deep, tectonic groan that speaks of the shifting foundations of the landscape. The Earth is constantly changing, responding to the cycles of heat and cold that define this geological epoch. We are witnesses to a world in flux, a place where the giants must adapt or fade into the annals of time. The sense of peace remains, however, a steady presence that underlies the dramatic transformations of the terrain. The light is beginning to shift again as we approach the Great Lakes that are forming at the edge of the retreating glaciers. These immense bodies of liquid are the cradle of a new era, their depths holding the potential for a different kind of landscape to emerge. We see the reflection of the clouds in the calm surface of the basin, a mirror of the sky that stretches toward the horizon. The journey through this land of giants is reaching a point of transition, leading us toward the final quiet of the evening as the landscape prepares for its next transformation. The light of the waning day filters through the canopy of the birch forest, casting long, slender shadows across the mossy floor. Here, in the damp woodlands of what will one day be known as Europe, the great stag moves, with a grace that defies his immense stature. This is the megaloceros, a creature of regal proportions, whose antlers span 12 feet from tip to tip. He carries this weight with a steady, practiced ease, his head held high as he navigates the dense thicket. Each step is deliberate, the soft padding of his hooves barely disturbing the fallen leaves and the carpets of lichen. The atmosphere is cool and damp, smelling of wet earth and the sharp, clean scent of pine needles. He pauses by a stream, the current moving slowly over smooth grey stones that have been polished by centuries of flow. The reflection of his massive head is broken by the ripples, a momentary distortion of his presence in this quiet corner of the landscape. Above, the first stars pierce the indigo veil of the sky, their light cold and distant like diamonds scattered on velvet. The stag exhales, a plume of white mist rising from his nostrils, a sign of the dropping temperature as the sun disappears behind the horizon. There is a profound stillness here, a sense of a place that is holding its breath, waiting for the transition into the deep of the night. We watch as he lowers his head to drink, the movement fluid and silent, a testament to the endurance of his kind in this changing era. Across the sprawling plains of the southern continent, the evening arrives with a different hue, painting the sky in strokes of violet and amber. The pampas grass sways in a gentle breeze, a sea of silver and gold that stretches toward the darkening edge of the horizon. Here the megatherium, the giant ground sloth, stands on its powerful hind legs to reach the succulent leaves of a tall tree. Its claws, long and curved, hook onto the branches with a slow, methodical strength that speaks of immense power. The creature is a mountain of fur and muscle, a remnant of a time when the giants ruled the open spaces of the south. The atmosphere carries the scent of sun-warmed earth and the sweet, dusty aroma of the drying grasses. Nearby, a glyptodon rests near the bank of a drying riverbed, its dome-like shell providing a fortress against the elements. The armor is a mosaic of bone, a complex pattern that has protected its lineage for millions of years through countless seasons. It moves its head slowly, its small eyes watching the play of light on the stream as the day fades into a deep purple. The noise of the insects is a constant low murmur, a background hum that defines the life of the plains. This is a place of slow movements and long shadows, where the passage of time is measured by the gradual shifting of the stars. The terrain is open and inviting, yet it holds a quiet tension as the predators of the night prepare for their emergence. In the coastal basins of the far west, the earth itself seems to breathe with a dark, primordial energy that rises from the depths. The tar seeps of the lowlands are black mirrors, reflecting the orange glow of the setting sun and the silhouettes of the twisted oaks. Bubbles of methane rise through the thick mire, bursting with a soft, wet pop that echoes in the stillness of the basin. This is a treacherous landscape, a place where the unwary are claimed by the hungry earth and held in its obsidian embrace. The atmosphere is thick with the smell of bitumen and the salty tang of the nearby ocean. We see the remains of those who came before, their bones preserved in the depths, a silent archive of the era. A smilodon crouches on a limestone ledge, its powerful shoulders bunched as it watches the movement below with predatory focus. The saber-toothed cat is a master of the ambush, its tawny coat blending perfectly with the dried brush and the shadows of the rocks. Its long, curved canines are visible as it lets out a low, vibrating growl, a note that is felt in the chest more than heard. The cat is patient, its gaze fixed on a group of horses grazing near the edge of the seeps. The shadow is its domain, a time when its superior vision and silent tread give it the advantage in the eternal struggle for survival. The atmosphere is charged with the anticipation of the chase, a quiet electricity that hangs in the cool evening. From the dimness of the surrounding hills, a pack of dire wolves emerges, their movements synchronized and purposeful as they traverse the grass. They are larger and more robust than the wolves of later times, built for the challenges of bringing down the great herbivores of the Pleistocene. Their communication is a series of low whines and sharp yips, a complex language that coordinates their movements through the tall grass. They move like ghosts, their presence revealed only by the occasional glint of moonlight on their thick fur. The pack is a single organism, a collective force that navigates the landscape with a confidence born of countless generations. They pause to scent the breeze, their nostrils flaring as they catch the trail of their quarry. In the high latitudes of the north, the landscape is a realm of ice and wind, a place where only the most resilient can survive. The woolly rhinoceros moves through a swirling mist of snow, its thick, shaggy coat providing a barrier against the biting cold. Its dual horns, long and formidable, are used to clear the snow from the frozen grasses that lie beneath the white blanket. The rhino is a solitary figure, a silent wanderer of the mammoth steppe who seeks sustenance in the frozen dark. The atmosphere is a pale, ghostly grey, the light of the moon diffused by the falling crystals of ice. Every breath is a struggle against the chill, yet the creature moves with a steady, unhurried pace, its strength a match for the environment. The Aurora borealis begins to dance across the sky, ribbons of emerald and violet light that shimmer with an ethereal glow. They illuminate the frozen expanse, casting a strange, shifting light over the snowfields and the jagged peaks of the mountains. This is the breath of the cosmos, a celestial display that has watched over this era for eons. The mammoths below look up, their small eyes reflecting the celestial fire, their trunks curling in the cold atmosphere. They are a family, huddling together for warmth as they make their way through a narrow mountain pass. The noise of their footsteps is a deep, muffled thud, a cadence that speaks of the weight of their history and the uncertain future of their kind. We follow the trail into the heart of the mountains, where the limestone cliffs are riddled with the entrances of deep caves. These are the sanctuaries of the cave bears, the massive ursines that spend the long winters in a state of deep, restorative sleep. Inside, the atmosphere is still and surprisingly warm, protected from the howling winds that scour the peaks outside. The bear is a mountain of fur, its breathing slow and rhythmic, a pulse that matches the steady dripping of water from the stalactites. The walls of the cave are covered in a thin layer of frost, glittering like diamonds in the faint light that filters in. This is a place of profound peace, a hidden world where the chaos of the surface is forgotten. On a distant ridge, a small flickering light appears, a tiny spark in the immense landscape of the night. It is a human campfire, a sign of the new arrivals who are beginning to make their mark on this landscape. The smoke rises in a thin, straight line, carrying the scent of burning wood and roasted meat into the cold. These are the survivors, the adaptable ones who bring with them tools of stone and the power of flame. They are a subtle presence for now, a small part of the ecosystem, yet their arrival signals a shift in the balance of this era. We watch from a distance, recognizing the significance of this small light in the grand narrative of the giants. The journey takes us across the ocean to the isolated plains of the southern island continent, where the stars are unfamiliar. Here, the Diprotodon grazes near a shrinking billabong, its massive wombat-like body a testament to the unique evolution of this land. The atmosphere is dry and hot, even in the evening, the scent of eucalyptus and red dust hanging in the air. The creature moves slowly, its movements hampered by the heat and the scarcity of liquid in the parched earth. It is a giant in a land that is becoming increasingly arid, a place where the old ways of life are being challenged. The stars above are different here, a new map of constellations that guides the wanderers of the outback. In the branches of a ghost gum tree, a thylacoleo watches the scene with a predatory intensity that is chilling. The marsupial lion is a creature of muscle and bone, its powerful jaws capable of crushing the toughest hide with a single bite. It is a master of the vertical landscape, using its retractable claws to navigate the smooth bark of the trees with ease. The night is filled with the calls of strange birds and the rustle of small mammals in the undergrowth. The landscape is a mosaic of shadows and silver light, a place where the archaic and the new exist in a delicate, shifting harmony. We feel the pulse of the land, a deep, resonant vibration that speaks of the endurance of life. Returning to the northern plains, we see a herd of camelops moving steadily across a dusty basin under the moon. These are the camels of the Ice Age, tall and elegant, their long legs built for covering great distances in search of food. Their silhouettes are sharp against the silver moon, a procession of ghosts moving through a landscape that is slowly losing its giants. The atmosphere is quiet, the only noise the soft crunch of sand beneath their feet as they travel. They are a reminder of the connections that once existed between the continents, a lineage that has traveled far to find its place. The evening is deepening, the cold becoming more intense as the night reaches its zenith. Near the edge of a frozen river in the far north, we find the tracks of a giant short-faced bear in the snow. The footprints are immense, each one a deep depression that tells a story of power and size beyond modern comparison. This was the largest predator to ever walk the land, a creature of incredible speed and strength that ruled the tundra. The tracks lead toward the mountains, disappearing into the shadows of the foothills, where the wind howls. The river itself is a sheet of black ice, reflecting the stars like a dark mirror of the heavens. The atmosphere is one of absolute solitude, a place where the presence of the giants is felt even in their absence. The light of the moon reflects in the still depths of a glacial lake, a perfect circle of silver in the heart of the wilderness. The water is frigid, holding the memory of the ice that once covered this entire region for thousands of years. There is no movement on the surface, only the occasional ripple from a falling piece of ice or the breath of a passing breeze. The landscape is a study in blue and white, a monochromatic world that is both beautiful and unforgiving to the weak. We feel the weight of the silence, a profound quiet that is the hallmark of the late Pleistocene night. This is the cradle of a new era, a place where the foundations are being laid. As the night continues its slow progression, the stars seem to grow brighter, their light a constant presence in the shifting world below. We see the thinning forests and the expanding grasslands, the physical evidence of the changing climate that is driving the extinction of the giants. This era is in transition, moving away from the age of the megafauna toward a different kind of ecosystem. The sense of loss is tempered by the recognition of the beauty that remains, the resilience of life that continues to adapt. We are witnesses to the end of an age, a quiet, gradual fading of the great ones into the mists of time and memory. The atmosphere is turning toward the first hint of pre-dawn grey, a subtle shift in the light that signals the approach of day. We remain in the shadows, watching as the landscape prepares for the return of the sun and the heat it brings. The creatures of the night begin to seek their shelters, their activities slowing as the world enters a period of rest. The cycle of the earth continues, a measureless pattern of birth and death, of growth and decay that has no end. We carry with us the memories of the giants, the magnificent beings that have shared their world with us. The peace of the evening remains, a steady, grounding force that leads us onward. The transition to the deep night is complete, and the landscape is a tapestry of silver and shadow that stretches forever. Every tree, every rock, and every creature is a part of this intricate design, a small piece of the grand mosaic. We move through the terrain with a sense of reverence, honoring the lives that have been lived and the legacies that remain. The breath of the place is slow and deep, a pulse that beats in the heart of the earth beneath our feet. We are at one with the landscape, a part of the silence that precedes the dawn. The stars are our guides, their light a beacon in the murk as we move toward the conclusion. The cooling plains and the frozen mountains are a testament to the endurance of life, a reminder that there is a persistence that cannot be broken. We see the tracks in the snow, the bones in the tar, and the reflections in the water, all signs of the giants. They are gone or going, but their presence is still felt in the shape of the hills and the patterns of the trees. We quiet into the final hour, the atmosphere thick with the weight of history and the promise of the future. The light of the moon is a gentle touch on the face of the earth, a final blessing before the sun begins its ascent. The starlight, cold and distant, reflects in the viscous black pools of the asphalt seeps, where the liquid earth rises to meet the night. Here the memory of the great saber-toothed cats persists, held in the amber-tinted, suffocating depths of the soil, a testament to a predator that once ruled the scrubland. The atmosphere is weighted with the scent of tar and old dust, a thick, pervasive smell that has hung over this valley for 10,000 years. We stand at the edge of the pit, watching the way the light catches the bubbles as they rise and burst, releasing a faint, sulphurous breath into the cooling night. The landscape is shifting, moving away from the giants that once defined its character as the climate turns and the forests begin to thin. We walk through the cooling grass, feeling the absence of the heavy footfalls that once shook the soil, a silence that is both peaceful and profound. The grass itself is different, a new variety that thrives in the drier, harsher conditions of this closing epoch, its blades rustling with a dry, metallic note. This is the era of the great settling, where the survivors find their place in a terrain that no longer supports the largest of its children. In the far north, the ice is retreating, revealing the bones of 1,000 generations, laid bare by the thawing of the permafrost. The ivory curves of a mammoth tusk catch the pale glow of the moon, a monument to a lineage that is fading into the mists of the past. The frost on the ivory glitters like 1,000 tiny stars, a final decoration for a king that has no more kingdom to roam. We move through the tundra, where the wind carries the chill of the receding glaciers, a biting reminder of the power that once held this land in a frozen grip. The atmosphere is thin and crisp, carrying the scent of drying pine and cold stone as we climb toward the higher ridges. We listen to the whisper of the wind, a low note that moves through the empty valleys where herds once gathered in their tens of thousands. The silence here is not empty, but filled with the echoes of the past, the ghost of a trumpet, the phantom of a low-frequency hum. Every rock and every gully seems to remember the weight of the woolly ones, their presence still etched into the very shape of the mountains. Across the southern plains, the great armored creatures have left their shells behind, abandoned in the silt of the drying riverbeds. These stone-like domes remain, half buried in the mud, as the tall grasses move in a slow, deliberate measure against the horizon. The moonlight silverizes the edges of the carapaces, turning them into strange, rounded boulders that defy the passage of time. We see the tracks of smaller animals, the foxes and the rodents, who now use these ancient shields as shelters from the cooling night. The era of the megafauna is drawing to its close, a quiet exit that leaves the terrain changed, and the legacy of the giants lingers in the very soil. Every stream and every ridge bears the mark of their passage, even as the silence grows and the predators find new paths through the brush. The transition is not a sudden crash, but a gradual fading, a slow dimming of the lights in a grand theatre. We are the observers of this final act, the witnesses to a world that is becoming something entirely new, yet still haunted by its former scale. We find ourselves at the edge of a great lake, where the flow is steady and calm, the current moving with a purpose we can only imagine. The reflection of the constellations dances on the skin of the stream, undisturbed by the drinking of giants, a mirror for the heavens that has remained unchanged for millions of years. The reeds along the bank are still, their roots anchored in the rich, dark mud that has swallowed so much history. We listen to the lapping of the current against the shore, a soft, repetitive sound that lulls the landscape into a deeper state of rest. The murk of the pre-dawn hour is a soft grey, a veil that covers the transition of the ages, hiding the details of the landscape in a gentle embrace. We see the outlines of the hills, shaped by the grazing of millions of years, now still and solitary under the weight of the fading darkness. The atmosphere is saturated with moisture, a fine mist that clings to the needles of the spruce and the leaves of the birch. This is the hour of the ghosts, where the giants seem to walk again in the shifting shadows of the fog. There is a beauty in this departure, a grace in the way the landscape holds onto its history, even as it prepares for the arrival of the sun. The fossils beneath the surface are the quiet narrators of a story that is reaching its final page, a chronicle of strength and endurance. We feel the grounding presence of the earth, its stability a comfort in a time of such profound change and loss. Every stone we step upon has been smoothed by the passage of time, a small part of the grand design that is now unfolding. The chill of the night is a grounding presence, a reminder of the cycles that govern all things, from the smallest insect to the largest mammal. We move with the shadows, observing the way the light begins to change on the eastern horizon, a subtle shift from indigo to a pale, ghostly violet. The world is waiting, held in a moment of breathless anticipation, as the first era of the giants comes to a final, peaceful end. We stand in the stillness, our own breath a small white cloud in the cooling atmosphere, a part of the living present. A single bird calls from the canopy of a birch tree, its note a clear, sharp sound in the stillness, breaking the silence of the pre-dawn. This is the voice of the new world, a small creature inheriting the vast expanse left by the Titans, a herald of the dawn that is to come. The call is lonely, yet filled with a certain strength, a declaration of existence in a landscape that is finding its new balance. We listen as another bird answers from across the valley, a dialogue of the small and the resilient in the face of the vanishing great. The trees are taller here, their branches reaching for the stars that are slowly fading into the brightening sky, as the ancient forests give way to the new. The thickets of the past are giving way to open meadows, a canvas for the life that is to come, a place where the bison and the deer will soon reign. The soil is rich with the decay of the old world, a fertile bed for the seeds of the future that are already beginning to stir. We see the first green shoots of the spring pushing through the leaf litter with a quiet, unstoppable force. We rest by a fire that has long since gone out, the embers cold among the stones of a long-abandoned camp where the first humans once sat. The people who shared this time have moved on, their footprints lost in the shifting sands of the riverbank, their stories carried in the wind. The water in the stream nearby continues its journey, unconcerned with the passage of the hunters or the hunted, a constant flow in a world of change. We touch the cold stones, feeling the connection to those who watched the same stars we see tonight. The pulse of the earth is steady, a deep and enduring beat that does not falter even as the sound of the giants fades from the valleys. It is the measure of time itself, moving forward through the extinction and the renewal, a pattern that has no beginning and no end. The atmosphere is clear now, the mist beginning to lift from the floor of the valley, revealing the intricate patterns of the frost on the rocks. We are a part of this pulse, a small beat in the heart of the landscape, moving in harmony with the cycles of the night. We look toward the mountains, where the snow remains a constant white cap in the dimness, a heavy mantle of ice that persists through the seasons. The high passes are quiet now, no longer echoing with the trumpeting of the great woolly ones, their paths filled with the debris of the retreating glaciers. The water from the melting peaks trickles down in 1,000 small veins, feeding the life of the valleys below with a cold, pure essence. We see the majesty of the peaks, their jagged outlines a stark contrast to the soft curves of the hills we have traversed. The twilight of the Pleistocene is a long, contemplative moment that stretches across the continents, a final farewell to the age of the Megafauna. From the caves of Europe to the islands of the Pacific, the change is universal and profound, a global shift in the fabric of the ecosystem. We feel the weight of this history, the millions of years of evolution that have led to this quiet pre-dawn hour. The stars are almost gone now, their light swallowed by the approaching day, leaving us in a world of grey and silver. The haze of the morning mist is rising from the valley floor, a ghost of the clouds that once followed the herds across the plains. It drifts between the trunks of the oaks, a soft touch on the cooling bark, a final embrace before the warmth of the sun arrives. The air is still, yet there is a sense of movement, a feeling of the world turning on its axis, moving toward a new beginning. We stand at the center of this transition, a point of stillness in the middle of a shifting, evolving landscape. We are the watchers of this final transition, the witnesses to the closing of a magnificent chapter in the history of the Earth. The giants are part of the soil now, their strength feeding the roots of the future, their ancient legacies preserved in the stone and the peat. We carry their memory with us, a treasure of the mind that we will take into the light of the new morning. The world is quiet, but it is a silence of preparation, a pause before the next great movement of the symphony. The first hint of gold appears at the edge of the sky, a promise of the sun that will soon rise over the edge of the world. It illuminates the frost on the grass, turning the landscape into a field of diamonds, a sparkling tribute to the giants who once walked here. The surface of the lake is a sheet of gold, reflecting the first rays of the dawn with a brilliance that is almost blinding. We feel the warmth of the light on our faces, a gentle touch that signals the end of our journey through the night. Our journey through the vanished habitats concludes here in the quiet peace of the coming day, as the stars finally vanish from the sky. We leave the giants to their rest, carrying their memory into the light of the new morning, a story of strength and beauty that will never be forgotten. The landscape is ready, the stage is set, and the first day of the new era is about to begin. We take one final look at the valley, where the shadows are retreating before the advancing light of the sun. The cycle of the earth is complete, and the stillness of the dawn is a benediction for the world that remains and the world that has passed. We fade into the silence, as the first rays of the sun touch the face of a land transformed, a place of new beginnings and old memories. The air is fresh, the light is clear, and the future is waiting just beyond the horizon of the trees. We are at peace, a part of the enduring story of life, as the giants sleep forever in the heart of the earth. Thank you for wandering through deep time with me tonight. Until next time on Forgotten Habitats, sleep well.